And yourself?
Good, good, good. So, every year we've gotten together at Game Fair and we've seen each other and fun stuff. Can you tell me just a little bit about the benefits of your product and me feeding it to my kennels? Because I have some experience now with it, and It was a positive experience, but the background and the information about the product and your company, I can't explain to my users as well as you can.
Okay.
Well, first of all, tell me, how did you get into doing this anyway?
We first started out in the equine business, and we saw the different supplements made to the equine industry. And we feed dogs similar to how we feed horses. It's based off of body condition. So a heavier weighted or a dog or a horse that needs to gain weight, we pull back on the commercialized feeds that you're feeding. In doing so, you're reducing the calories, but you're also reducing the nutrient profile of that diet.
Okay.
So we just try to make up for those limitations. Plus, in a kibble situation, the heat and pressure process denatures some of the B vitamins. And it's hard to do a probiotic when you have heat and pressure.
Okay.
So that's...
Is that because when you do a probiotic under heat and pressure, it doesn't survive the heat?
Correct. It does not. Yeast will survive, but lactobacillus will not. So we came up with a supplement that kind of makes up the limitations of a kibble. Plus, it's a probiotic and a prebiotic. And then 2 of the 3 varieties we have glucosamine and chondroitin for joint support.
Okay.
And then one we have has high levels of omega-3, which is anti-inflammatory.
Sure.
And then as well as cognitive function that's been proven.
So how long have you guys been around?
We've had the products out for probably 15 years. This variety, we had one before that, did well in kennel dogs because they eat differently than a household pet.
Sure.
So this is a lot more palatable. It's easier to administer. So it's got a lot more things to it.
So what kinds of things have you heard, like positive influences for a person to use it?
It kind of helps prevent those hot spots, those licking between the toes, the wet dog smell, the tearing of the eyes. That's all kind of a candida yeast. And it can't live on the outside of the skin unless it's in the digestive tract. So when you feed a probiotic, you crowd that out of the digestive tract.
So explain crowding it out of the digestive tract.
You push it out because you're loading the gut or the microbiome with beneficial bacteria, and you kind of crowd that negative, harmful bacteria out.
Okay.
So a lot of that has changed. We've seen dogs that have been on non-steroidal anti-inflammatories because they're stiff and they're sore and they don't want to move. We've seen with the glucosamine chondroitin, with the manganese is the precursor for synovial fluid. And a dog on depleted manganese diet, it's going to move a little stiffer regardless.
So, but how are you going to determine whether a dog is depleted on manganese without doing a subject test?
You could do the subject test, but it's hard to do a blood test for a manganese. You can do blood tests for selenium and vitamin E, but blood system minerals fluctuate because they can pull it out of the bone.
Sure.
So, but no, we are really happy with the product, and we've helped a lot of dogs, and it just...
So how does one get a hold of more information on the product or getting the product or...
Our company's name is Doctor's Choice Supplements. You can go there and either go to the horse side or the canine side, or they can look up Phytovite. We have an 800 number. And
so like when I first contacted you, I have a dog that just doesn't like to eat.
Yep.
What I found though, even though he didn't like to eat, what Phytovite did to him was give him better conditioning. It didn't increase his intake, but the overall conditioning, body-wise, like muscle type-wise, became fuller. He looked more athletic with the product and continues to do so with the product than just an overall increasing his digestion. Even though my hope was for him to increase digestion and take in more calories,
right.
His calorie need is what his calorie need is. But what I have found is it does allow him to, it gives him a better appearance. Muscle structure and soundness has always been there, but it looks like he's carrying more finishes. It makes him look more mature.
Yep.
Not carrying the extra weight that I like him to carry, but that's fine. That's fine too.
Yep.
His health and conditioning is great. His coat is great. His coat even it's richer after Phytovite than it was before. so I know that particular process of what you're processing in the gut has been helped.
Yep. Good.
You know,
Good.
so that's just my own FYI of how it's worked with my own personal dog.
You know, if you look at the requirements for the dog, there's just one requirement. It doesn't increase based on exercise activity.
Yeah.
And we know, you know, with in other industries as well as the human industry, if you add exercise to a program, your requirements are going to stair step up.
Yeah.
And we just kind of make up for that.
So out here at Game Fair, what are some of the experiences that you find in educating the general public in reference to? What is your feedback? I mean, what do you?
It's been very positive.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of kennels. For us personally, the biggest area you can make an improvement in for the health and well-being of the dog for the rest of his life is if it can go in utero when the female is pregnant.
Yeah.
If you can get enough fortification in that female, that just ensures a healthy puppy at birth, instead of one that's maybe depleted. You know, you can feed it everything in the world after it's born, but it's still not good.
From the trade show side and educating people,
Yep.
does this particular type of venue help in educating the public? Does it give you better exposure? Does it give you valid feedback that's valuable to you? I mean, what is your feel in something like this?
It does. You know, there's a lot of hunting interest at this trade show, and what they have to, you know, some people just think that it's needed during that hunting season, but it's an everyday. It's keeping the immune system boosted. It's not just to do it now to get through it.
I get the question of things like dogs eating grass. Okay.
Yep.
How would something like this help them in reference to that? Do you think that would help them stop eating grass? Do you think that would help them digest grass easier?
I think with the bacteria concentration that we put into the gut, I think digesting the grass would be enhanced, but it's not going to stop the regurgitation. I don't think.
No, it's just one of those general questions when people start talking about supplements.
Yep.
I get asked that question from the dog training, answering questions side of general information that people just throw out there in reference to dogs.
Yep.
So when people start talking about biohealth and anything to do with an animal's gut, one of those questions that come up, well, my dog regurgitates grasses or something out there for it. And I'm like, no, because your dog doesn't have a rumen, and if it did, it would be helpful. But you're not going to take your dog to the local vet and have a rumen added to your dog's stomach to give it additional compartments so it can break that grass down.
Right.
It just can't do it.
You know, we really feel that we help unexplained diarrhea, loose stool, you know, the issue that you were having with kind of a poor appetite.
Yeah.
I mean, a probiotic should be an appetite stimulant, but you still got to get it in them to be an appetite stimulant.
I've also, I feed it to the kennel. I don't feed as many dogs as a lot of kennels do.
Yep.
So I don't go through as much product, and the dogs don't stay with me very long. But it has made a huge difference in the different junks that people send their dogs in, that dogs have loose stools coming in, that they have decent stools that I have to deal with while they're with me.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. Well,
and I know when they have decent stools while they're with me, their digestibility has gone up.
Yep.
And the amount of food that they're processing,
Goes up.
the ability of the food that they're processing goes up.
Yep.
So now I have a healthier dog while it's with me. It's got a dog that's not maintaining its own nutrition better.
Yep.
Because when you take them in for a boarding and training situation, it's always a high stress level situation.
Sure.
They're away from home. They're getting new rules and regulations.
Yep.
Their training schedule and workout schedule is totally different.
Yep.
So no matter how anybody says it, that's a stressful environment for a dog because everything's been changed.
Right.
Now you add, whether they're on your kennel food or the garbage junk that mom and dad sent with them.
Yep. Yep. No, it's every dog handles stress differently, as you well know, and we just try to set the dog up to win.
Yeah.
So.
Well, good.
Nutritional.
Well, thanks for the interview.
Well, thanks you.
Thanks for being hesitant just to talk about the product. I mean, it's really easy.
Yeah.
The fun part about me in the dog world is my exposures to people is vast.
Yep.
And the
Yep.
information that I get to cover and share is all over the place. Like right now, I'm in the process of writing a dog training textbook.
Oh,
Okay, and I'm covering information, and I have a section in my book that it has to do with Fight a White. So,
oh,
but
good. I hope.
no, it's fun because if you search right now out there for a textbook on dog training or dog information, you can't find one. And the AKC's Journal Animal Dog Book doesn't cover how to train and why to train and what to train. It doesn't have a section on nutrition and nutritional study.
Right.
It doesn't have a section on first aid and first aid interaction and study and prevention and care. It doesn't have any of that information. So when I meet a person like you, who's knowledgeable, who actually has an understanding of true nutrition, because I have discussions with nutritionists from major food companies through their reps and individuals that are sitting at the table calling themselves nutritionists, and I'm going, what?
Yeah.
None of what you're saying to me made sense from the education that I learned. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I am careful trying to soft coding some of the information out there. So it is, that part is what it is, but there's all kinds of vast reasons to share additional information, and not everybody's right or wrong, but let's not withhold the information that's available.
Right. Nutrition is something you can get your arms around.
Yeah.
You know, there are variables that you can't influence, but nutrition's not one of them.
I want to know, yeah, because
So-
you can starve. I told one client he was starving his dog to death with the food that he was feeding. Okay?
Going right through it.
And he kept feeding him more and more and more, and the dog kept eating more and more and more, and the stools just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yep.
And I said to him, "You're starving your dog to death with the food that you're." I'm feeding him more. So I handed him a bag of the brand that I was feeding. And I said, "Give him 1 cup of this in the food that you're feeding." He goes, he picked out all the food out of the dish that I gave him. Picked it all out. I said, that's clue number 1, that there was no value in the food that you had in his bowl.
Yep.
A week after feeding an appropriate dog brand, the dog gained 4 pounds, and it wasn't water weight.
Yep.
So I said, you're a great case study for me of just plain old simple nutrition.
Right. Right.
Simple nutrition that you can understand and see just from the bag of dog food. You know, when the first 4 ingredients are corn, barley extract,
Grain byproducts.
grain byproduct, peanut hulls,
Yep.
and some other byproduct source. Like, yeah, they'll tell you that your protein levels are at 97%, but none of it's digestible to the dog.
No, you got to go back to the basics. Yep. You know, you can try the
But
latest
seriously,
fad.
what are the basics? Give me a quick rundown. Seriously, what are the basics when it comes to nutrition?
A quality food, good quality water, ample water, and
Could give me your definition of a quality food. A simple breakdown of a quality food. Start with the protein source.
well, the protein source should be a natural, not a byproduct.
Okay.
So
Good.
we think.
No, right.
So
Because when you look at what a wolf will go take down, they'll
Yep.
eat the back straps. High protein source, okay?
Yep.
And then they'll eat pre-digested rumen stuff, okay?
which is where they're getting their probiotics and the nucleotides.
Right.
Right.
And it's stuff that's able to break down, which helps increase their stomach.
Right.
Okay. They won't eat the leather or skin till last, or they don't have anything left to eat. All their initial shredding and eating is heavy muscle source.
Yep.
Heavy muscle source.
Yep.
And so for us as human beings to provide them a nutrition of a reputable food,
Yep.
our first ingredient should be
Natural.
a natural heavy muscle source.
Yep. So, I mean, there is thousands of dog food companies out there, and you know, is it a least cost formulation or is it a fixed formulation? That makes a big difference too.
Well, it's like
So-
when one company takes over a company that's been around for years, and all of a sudden the ration appears to be the same,
Yeah, but it looks different.
but the quality of that ration has gone way down for cost effectiveness.
Yep.
Well, good.
So,
Was that painful?
no, Not yet.